The girl with no gunsmoke filled the air. The ground shook from far explosions. War machines burned across the battlefield. Broken weapons, torn flags, and the smell of ash covered everything above. Black enemy ships floated in the sky like monsters. The Grax Empire had arrived, and they were winning. But then, something strange happened. From the hills of the ruined Earth outpost, a single human began to walk forward. A girl, no helmet, no armor, no weapon, She wore a torn white coat over a dark shirt and boots. Her hands were empty, but in her right hand, she pulled something heavy, a metal box on wheels, locked by thick chains. The box was square, black, and had a single glowing light on its side, and a yellow warning. Symbol, nuclear hazard. The soldiers on both sides stopped moving. Who was she? Why was she alone? Why was she dragging a nuclear bomb? From the sky, General Koren, leader of the Grax fleet, watched through his ship's lens. His commanders looked at the girl in confusion. "What is that?" one asked. "A human," said another. "But no gear. No escort." "She's unarmed," the general growled. "Send a scout. Kill her." But before they could act, their sensors beeped. The metal box was real. A tactical nuclear weapon. Small but deadly. And it was active. One wrong move, and boom, the general. Raised his hand. Wait. On the ground, the girl kept walking. Her name was Ava Monroe. She wasn't a soldier. She had never fired a gun in her life. Her job had been peacekeeping, building bridges between alien worlds and Hawaii. But peace had died the day the Grax invaded. They destroyed her city, her family, her world. So now, she had one mission, not to fight, not to beg, just to walk and deliver Earth's final message. Alien soldiers aimed their rifles at her, but none fired. They scanned her body, no weapons, no armor, just calm footsteps and a quiet stare. Ava kept walking through fire and metal. Every step made the chains rattle. The nuke behind her rolled like a sleeping beast. One alien whispered, "She's bluffing." Another said, "Are you sure?" She passed a burned tank. Its cannon bent. A dead human hand still gripped the side. Ava paused. She stared at it, then looked up again. No tears. Just focused. Above. The Grax general narrowed his eyes. "She's walking into our territory," he said. "Alone. Should we stop her?" one asked. Koren shook his head. "No, let's see how far she gets." Ava reached the first checkpoint. Alien guards stood shaking. They opened the gate without a word. One of them looked into her eyes. He saw something terrifying. No fear, not even a little. Ava passed through the gate and whispered, "Thank you," then kept walking. From the command ship, a captain spoke nervously. "General, that nuke is active. It's not a decoy." Koran grunted. "Is it remote triggered?" The officer shook his head. "No, it's linked to her biosigns." Koran stood up, confused. "Her what?" "Her heartbeat," the officer said. "If she dies, the bomb detonates." The room fell silent. A single human girl was walking into their main base with a nuclear bomb tied to her life. On the ground, Ava entered the outer zone of the Grax stronghold. Soldiers watched from rooftops. Drones hovered overhead, but no one moved. She reached for a small radio clipped to her belt. It was old, cracked, but still worked. She pressed the button and spoke. "This is Ava Monroe. I bring no threat unless one is given to me. I request an audience with General Koren." Her voice was clear, calm. Strong. The radio beeped. Then silence. Back in the command ship, Koran stared at the screen. "She wants to talk," someone said. General leaned forward. "She brought a nuke. To talk?" The room waited for his order. Coron smiled coldly. Let her in. And so the gates opened. Ava Monroe, unarmed and unshaken, pulled a nuclear bomb into enemy territory. Alone, and no one dared to stop her, because this wasn't war anymore, Dot. It was something far more dangerous. A message. Her name was Ava Monroe, stood inside the enemy's walls. Alien soldiers lined the walkway, their weapons still aimed, yet none dared to pull the trigger. The black nuclear box behind her made a soft humming sound. Its wheels scraped the stone as she pulled it across the ground with a thick chain wrapped around her wrist. Dot, it was a message without words, and she was the only one carrying it. Dot, above her, hidden eyes watched from drones, towers, and ships. Entire Grax command structure had gone silent. Even the wind stopped blowing. She didn't blink. Dot. She didn't speak. Dot. She just walked forward. General Coran, leader of the Grax invasion fleet, stared at her through the live feed. This made no sense. Dot. No armor, no escort, no blasters. And yet, his army, the most feared in 3 systems, stood frozen like statues. He turned to his officer. Who is she? The officer tapped on his control pad. Name, Ava Monroe. Former peace envoy to the Ulari clans. Civilian class. Number. Military record. Then why is she carrying a nuclear device? The general growled. The officer hesitated. Because Earth is desperate. 1 week earlier, Ava had stood in the War Command Center on Earth's final standing colony. Explosions echoed in the distance. The last defense lines were falling. She faced a group of generals, diplomats, and scientists. Her hands were clenched. Her voice was calm. You can't win this war by fighting. The others shouted, argued, panicked. One shouted, we're out of time. Another, they'll wipe out the rest of the colony by nightfall. Ava pointed to a small black crate on the table, a last resort tactical nuke, small enough to move. By hand, strong enough to erase a city. Built for show, not war. I'll take it, Ava said. They all stared at her. You're not a soldier, one whispered. I don't need to be, she replied. Ava's father had been a peacekeeper too. He always said, sometimes the loudest weapon is the quiet one that walks through fire and refuses to stop. Now she understood what he meant. Back to present. Ava entered the enemy war chamber. General Coran waited for her, surrounded by guards and lights. The floor was polished black stone. Alien banners hung from the ceiling. It looked like a place meant to crush hope. But Ava didn't flinch. She stopped 10 steps from the general. She didn't bow. She didn't speak. Coran stood, tall and proud. His skin was dark silver. His 4 eyes blinked in slow order. You walked into my fortress, he said, with death behind you. Ava nodded. Yes. You carry a human weapon of mass destruction. I do. You are unarmed, he said. So is the bomb, she replied. For now. Coran walked closer, his heavy boots echoing on the floor. You think this is bravery? Ava met his gaze. No, this is a choice. To do what? To offer one final chance, she said. Coran laughed, loud and sharp. You come here to threaten me? With your death? Ava unwrapped part of the chain from her wrist. It revealed a small device strapped to her skin, blinking in sync with her heartbeat. If I die, she said, the bomb detonates. The room went silent. Coran looked at his guards. They didn't move. Even they understood what this meant. Ava looked straight into his eyes. You can kill me right now, she said, but you will die too, along with everyone in this room, along with your command center. Coran clenched his fists. Then why come here at all? Because Earth still wants peace, she said. Even now? Especially now, Ava whispered. Because you left us with nothing but this choice. I am not here to start a war. I came to end it. Koran turned his back to her, walked slowly toward the great window behind the chamber. From there, he could see the battlefield. His ships were everywhere. He owned the sky. But now, a single girl with no gun stood in his throne room, holding the key to his destruction. And she was calm. Too calm. That's what made it worse. She wasn't bluffing, and he knew it. Why not send a soldier? He asked. Ava answered, because soldiers kill. I came to give you a way not to. He turned. You're just a girl. I'm just what's left, she said. In that moment, even Koran felt it, not fear, but something deeper. Respect. Ava had walked into the heart of the enemy. No armor, no escort, no weapon. And yet, she held the power of peace and destruction in the same breath. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't look away. And now, the fate of two worlds was in her hands. The voice in the sky, the war room was quiet. Ava stood in the center, still holding the chain connected to the small nuclear device behind her. Her white coat fluttered slightly in the cold air. General Koran stared at her with cold eyes. Around them, armored Grax guards held their rifles tightly, but none dared to shoot. Every machine in the room kept scanning her. Every sensor still blinked one warning: nuclear payload active, linked to human life signs. And her life signs were steady. Calm, slow, unshaken. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the loudspeaker above them. It was not Ava's. It was not the general's. It came from the human command ship, high in Earth's orbit. They had found the signal Ava sent before entering. The voice was deep, male, and firm. This is Captain Reese of the Earth Resistance. General Koran, if you are hearing this, then Ava Monroe has made it to your command post. The Grax looked at each other in confusion. Ava stood still. The voice continued. She carries no weapon, but the device behind her carries enough force to destroy your entire fortress and most of your fleet. That is not a threat. That is a truth. Koran's upper lip curled. Ava said nothing. She is not there to fight you. She is there to give you a way out. If you kill her, you die. If you listen to her, we may still have a future that doesn't end in fire. Then silence again. Koran narrowed his 4 eyes. They use her as a messenger? Ava spoke softly. No one sent me. I volunteered. Why? He asked, stepping closer. What are you? She met his stare. The last line before war becomes extinction. Koran turned and walked to a large display screen on the wall. He tapped the controls. A live feed appeared showing the battlefield outside. Human forces were down to less than 10%. Earth's last ships hovered in orbit, damaged, barely holding. Grax forces still outnumbered them 10-1. You are already broken, he said. Ava nodded. Maybe, but we still have something you don't. Koran smirked. A bomb? She shook her head. No, a choice. The general studied her. Do you think this makes you strong? Walking in here alone? No, Ava said. But it makes me free. He frowned. I have no one left to bury, she continued. No home left to lose. You already took everything. So now I give you one final gift, the chance to stop before you go too far. He raised an eyebrow. And if we don't? Ava took a deep breath. Then I become the message. The Grax guards whispered to each other. Many of them looked. Unsure. One lowered his weapon, slightly. Another took a step back. They weren't afraid of her body. They were afraid of her will, not of how she stood in their strongest chamber. Like it was hers. Koran crossed his arms. You don't understand war, human, Ava replied. And maybe you don't understand peace. I understand power, she nodded. Then understand this. Power doesn't come from killing people. Who can't fight back? Power is stopping yourself from destroying something just because you can. The general blinked slowly. No reply. A signal light blinked near the room entrance. One of the Grax lieutenants stepped forward and bowed slightly. General, outer perimeter reports multiple human ships retreating. Koran raised an eyebrow. Running? No, they are holding position. Weapons powered down. The general turned to Ava. What game is this? No game, she said. We paused so you could choose. He paced slowly. You walked into fire with a chain around your wrist. Are you ready to die for this idea? Ava whispered. I didn't come here to die. I came to remind you that some of us still know what life is worth. She stepped closer. Kill me if you want, but ask yourself, will your people follow a warlord who needed to kill a girl with no gun to win a war he already started? That question stayed in the air like thunder. Even the guards shifted, uncomfortably. Koran stared at her and for the first time in his long, bloody career, he didn't know what to do. A girl with no weapons had forced the entire battlefield to pause. Not with fear, but with truth. No one stops her. The doors behind Ava opened again. 2 Grax guards stepped in, heavily armored, holding pulse rifles. Everyone in the war chamber turned to watch. Ava stayed still. Her hand remained lightly gripping the thick chain. Attached to the nuke behind her, the small device blinked softly with every beat of her heart. One of the guards raised his weapon. Shall we remove the human, General? He asked coldly. Ava didn't blink. General Koran stood silent for a long moment. He looked at Ava, looked at the nuclear device, then turned his sharp gaze toward his own men. No, he said. Stand down. The guards hesitated. But sir, Koran stepped closer to them, voice harder now. She came in alone, unarmed, and she made it this far. He pointed a sharp claw toward the weapon behind her. You want to test her resolve? Go ahead. But remember, when her heart stops, we all burn. The guards looked at each other and slowly lowered their weapons. Ava kept her voice calm. Thank you, Koran growled. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I still value my life. Outside the chamber, word began to spread. An unarmed human woman had walked past heavy patrols, had crossed minefields, had passed checkpoints. And now stood before the general, with a bomb chained to her wrist. Rumors spread fast. Some said she was Earth's final weapon. Others said she had already died once and came back for revenge. But the one truth no one could deny? No one had stopped her, not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. At the edge of the base, Grax soldiers whispered to each other. She didn't even blink when they aimed at her. I heard the bomb reacts to her heart. If she panics, it goes off. No way that's real. It is. I saw the scans. In the skies, the Grax fleet shifted. Some captains sent nervous requests to General Koran. Should we fall back? Do we prepare for an evacuation? Is this a negotiation or a trap? Koran ignored them all. Instead, he stood in front of Ava and studied her face. You have fear in you, he said. Double quotes, yes. Ava answered. Fear is normal. Then why do you not show it? Ava looked around the room, her voice steady. Because I already faced everything I feared. My planet burned. My friends died. My future was erased. You can't take what's already gone. Koran narrowed his eyes. So you want to die? She shook her head. No, I want to live. And that's why I'm here. He stepped closer. And if I ordered my soldiers to shoot anyway? Ava slowly lifted the chain off her wrist and showed him the detonator attached beneath her skin. A red sensor pulsed faintly in time with her heartbeat. If I go down, the bomb activates. If I die, it explodes. She paused. This isn't revenge. It's insurance. Koran's teeth clenched. You humans are insane. Ava gave a soft smile. Only when we run out of peace. Far away, in the orbiting Earth resistance ship, Captain Reese watched the situation on screen. His crew held their breath. She's still standing, a young officer whispered. She's doing more with her voice than we did with fleets, said another. Reese nodded. Because courage speaks louder than firepower. Back in the chamber, Koran turned away from Ava and stared at the large war map on the wall. It showed the entire battlefield. Grak's forces still controlled most of the land, but in the center, glowing red, was his own command post, the exact place. Ava stood. The exact place that would become ashes if she died. He clenched his jaw. You came all this way just to scare me? Ava said softly. I came this far because no one else could. She reached down and lightly touched the nukes. Outer shell. I didn't bring a weapon, she said. I brought a mirror to show you what you've become. Koran turned, angry now. You dare lecture me? She met his anger with calm. No, I dare to ask. Ask what? She looked him in the eyes. Are you the kind of leader who only wins by killing someone who refuses to fight back? The room went silent again. Even the guards lowered their eyes. No one spoke, no one moved, because no one could answer her question, and no one stopped her. Inside the fortress, the great doors of the war chamber closed behind her. Now, Ava Monroe stood deeper than any human had ever gone inside enemy territory. She was standing in the heart of the Grax Empire's main command fortress with a nuke, chained behind her and the fate of 2 worlds in her hands. Yet her breathing stayed slow, her heartbeat stayed steady, and her eyes did not look away. General Koran stood near the control table in the center of the room. The digital war map floated above it, showing red zones, retreating Earth positions, and the falling edges of resistance. He didn't look at her as he spoke. You know, Ava, he said, if you came to talk peace, this is a strange way to do it. I didn't come for peace, she replied. I came for the last decision. Koran turned, arms crossed. You're giving me an ultimatum? No, she said. I'm giving you a chance. One you haven't earned. He walked slowly toward her. His voice was low, cold. You carry a weapon of mass destruction into my home, and you call it mercy? She nodded. Because it hasn't gone off. The other commanders in the room shifted uncomfortably. Some of them had fought humans for years, but none had ever faced a human who fought like this, not with fists or guns, but with will. Unbreakable. Unbending. Unarmed. Korn stepped closer, his tall form towering over her. You're bluffing, he said. Ava raised her hand and pointed at the red blinking monitor attached to her wrist. This sensor is real, she said. It tracks my pulse, oxygen level, stress. It's linked directly to the core of the bomb. If I die, even by accident, you die with me, Koran growled. And your people would send you to die? No one sent me, Ava said. They didn't want me to come. I came because it had to be done. Someone had to show you who we really are. She stepped forward. The sound of the metal box scraping across the floor echoed in the silent chamber. Then she stopped, just 2 steps from the main war table. And placed the chain gently on the floor. The room TENCD. No explosion, no beep. Just silence. Koran asked, and what do you expect me to do now? Ava replied, call off your fleets, end the war, or let this place become the price of your pride. You would sacrifice yourself? Yes, she said softly. Because I'm already done watching my people burn. I'm done waiting for you to grow a conscience. Koran turned to his commanders. One of them, a younger officer, spoke nervously. General, The weapon is confirmed live. Radiation levels match a nuclear payload. It is not a trick. Another one added, we can't disarm it. It's locked to her vitals. Any attempt could set it off. Koran stared at them both and looked back at Ava. What are you really after? He asked. She looked him in the eyes. A future. A pause. A breath. And then she spoke again, slower this time. Not with anger, but with pain. My little brother was 10. He loved drawing alien ships. He wanted to be a diplomat like me. He didn't survive your orbital strike. She swallowed. Don't hate you, but I won't let you do this again. The room fell into complete stillness. Even Corin felt something shift inside him. Not fear, not guilt, but understanding. He had never looked into the eyes of a human like her. Not a soldier, not a fighter, a protector, someone who had lost everything and still walked into fire to give the enemy one final chance. He looked down at the war table. His fingers hovered over the command board. One signal, and the war could end, but not by winning, by stopping. Was he ready for that? Ava spoke once more. I'll give you 5 minutes, she said. After that, I walk out, or I die. Either way, this ends today. She turned her back to him, faced the giant window behind the war table, watched the stars outside, and waited. The truth in her eyes. War chamber was quiet. Too quiet. The countdown had started, not on any screen, but inside every mind present. 5 minutes. That's what Ava Monroe had given them. 5 minutes to choose peace, or burn with pride. She stood facing the wide glass window, the stars shining outside. The metal box the nuke sat behind her, blinking softly. She didn't look back. She didn't have to. General Coran stood still, arms behind his back. He stared at Ava. The bomb. Not the chain. Not the detonator linked to her heartbeat. Just her. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't breathing hard. She wasn't pretending. She meant every word. And that scared him more than any weapon ever had. One of the Grax commanders leaned toward the general and whispered, Sir, what if she's bluffing? Coran didn't answer. He kept staring at the girl. Another officer said, we could tranquilize her, knock her out without killing her. But the science officer shook his head. The trigger is sensitive. Her heart rate drops too fast. We all die. No one moved. No one dared touch her. Because in that moment, Ava Monroe was more than human. She was a symbol. She slowly turned. Her eyes met Corin's again. I'm not special, she said softly. I'm not brave. I'm just the last person who said yes when no one else would. He frowned. Then why do you look so certain? Ava walked one step closer. Because I've already made peace with dying, she said. But I haven't made peace with being ignored. Her voice didn't tremble. I stood in rooms like this before, she continued. Tried to negotiate, tried to reason. And every time they smiled and told me to wait. Then they sent more. Bombs, more ships, more death. She looked around the chamber. But this time, I didn't come to wait. The Grax commanders lowered their eyes. Coran watched her carefully. I've killed 1,000 enemies, he said. But you're not like the others. No, Ava whispered. Because I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to remind you what you've forgotten. Corin's voice was low. What have I forgotten? Ava stepped forward, eyes glowing with purpose. That mercy is strength. She continued. You think fear controls people, but fear fades. People forget it. But the memory of mercy, of someone who had the power to destroy and chose not, that lives forever. She looked down at the detonator on her wrist. I could end this now. You know that. But I haven't. Not because I'm weak. Not because I'm scared. But because deep down, I still believe someone in this room is strong enough to stop it. Silence. Again. Then Koran finally spoke. You really believe we can stop this war? Now? Ava nodded. You can't undo what's been done. But you can choose what comes next. A communication light blinked. One of the officers turned to Koran. Sir? Incoming message from Grax Prime. They request a status update. Koran didn't respond. Another blink. Then another. The galaxy was watching. Waiting. Ava met Koran's gaze again. I'm not your enemy, she said quietly. I'm your mirror. For a long time, Koran said nothing. His claws tapped the edge of the war table. Then he gave a slow breath and pressed one button on the console. Across the field, Grax ships powered down weapons. Tanks stopped moving. The invasion halted. Earth's remaining forces watched with wide eyes. Some cried. Some dropped their weapons in disbelief. Some simply knelt in silence. Inside the fortress, Koran spoke at last. I've chosen. Ava closed her eyes and exhaled. She reached down and pressed a button on her wrist. The red light stopped blinking. The bong went cold. Koran asked, What will you do now? Ava turned to the window, watching the stars again. I'll go home, she said softly, if there's anything left of it. He looked at her with something unfamiliar respect. You remind me of someone I knew long ago, he said. Ava smiled slightly. And remember me now. And so, in a room built for war, surrounded by killers and fear, it was one woman's truth that changed everything. She had no army, no gun, no armor. Just courage, and that was enough. The war that never happened. The stars were brighter now, not because anything in the sky had changed, but because something inside the hearts of both enemies had died in a war that had raged across 3 systems, in a galaxy where hope had faded. A human girl named Ava Monroe had done what no soldier, fleet, or bomb ever could. She made them stop. Inside the Grax command fortress, the atmosphere had shifted. Weapons were no longer pointed. Hands were no longer on triggers. And eyes once filled with hate were now watching her with quiet awe. General Koran stood beside the war table, arms crossed, watching as Ava gently rewrapped the chain around the now inactive nuclear box. The red light on her wrist was off. Bomb was silent. The girl was alive, and so was the future. You could have ended everything, Koran said. Ava looked at him, tired but steady. I still might have, she said. But you chose not to let that happen. That's what matters. He nodded slowly. What do you want in return? He asked. Ava paused. Tell the truth, she said. Koran blinked. She stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. Tell your people. What happened here? Tell them a human walked into your heart of war alone and gave you a choice. Not because she was strong, not because she was powerful, but because she believed you still had a soul. Koran nodded once. You'll have your message. And peace? We'll talk, he said. That's all I ever asked, Ava replied. Outside, the news spread quickly. Across the battlefield, human soldiers stared up at the sky as Grax ships pulled back, one by one. No more airstrikes. No more gunfire. No more death. A strange quiet fell across the burning soil. And for the first time in months, the Earth forces began to hope again. On the human command ship above orbit, Captain Reese leaned forward. She did it, he whispered. His second-in-command nodded slowly. One girl. No guns, Reese said. Just a nuke. And courage. Later that day, Ava walked out of the Grax fortress. Alone, just as she had entered. The nuclear box remained behind, sealed and untouched. She carried only her bag, her pale coat, and the same calm in her eyes. A Grax escort ship flew her safely. Back to the human side, no one stopped her. No one dared to. Because now, Ava Monroe was more than a name. She was a symbol, a memory of what could have been lost. But WASN single quotes T. In the days that followed, both sides sat at the same table. The first. Talks began. Not all problems vanished. Not all wounds healed. But they talked. And for the first time, they listened. Because of her. A month later, a small statue was built on neutral ground. Between the last human colony and the outer edge of Grax territory. It showed a young woman standing still, holding nothing. Behind her, a small metal box, untouched. At her feet, a broken chain. On the base, 5 words were carved. She carried peace through fire. And so, the war that should have ended with ash never truly happened. Because in the middle of ruin, in the heart of a monstrous fortress, one unarmed girl chose to carry a choice. And not one soul found the courage to stop her. The end